for that kind introduction. And at the outset, I'd like to thank Dr. Mukesh Sharma sir for including me in this IC. And it's an absolute honor to present here with my mentors, Dr. Bajaj sir. Here I'll be talking about the lacrimal canalicular laceration repair. Okay. So very commonly we see the trauma cases of eyelid injury, and comprehensive ophthalmologists are doing that, and 30% of these eyelid injuries, they involve the canaliculus. So it's important for them to know how to repair this. So most commonly, it is in the infants, it is associated with the blouse hook injury or dog bites. In adults, we see it with the blunt trauma and RTAs. It is recommended to do primary reconstruction in all the canalicular laceration, and the timing of surgical repair is as early as possible. So older theories were like you have to repair it within 24 hours of injury, but as soon as the patient comes to you, whether it is second day, third day, or within a week, you should attempt a repair. So the steps of management is, first you have to find the torn end of the canaliculus. That's the most important step. Then you place a temporary well-tolerated stent, and then there is an accurate layered closure of the eyelid laceration is to be done at the final step. Whenever there is a dog bite, you must remember doing the vaccination and giving the immunoglobulins as well. So coming directly onto the video, this is the canalicular laceration of the lower canaliculus, and I'm doing it under local anesthesia. It is the xylocaine with adrenaline which is injected. So this is the avulsion injury. You can see the oblique kind of lid laceration, and it's kind of a proximal injury, so not very difficult to find the torn end of the canaliculus. You can see the white shiny rolled edge of the canaliculus here. So first you have to clean the wound with a betadine, remove all the necrotic tissue by your betadine swab as well as doing the sharp dissection. And then you identify the punctum, locate it. So here there is the punctum. So you have to dilate it with the Nittleschip punctum dilator. Then this is very proximal injury. You can see hardly 2-3 mm of the canaliculus is involved. So this is the probe that you pass. Then to identify the distal end, I have put 2-3 drops of adrenaline. So that will lead to blanching of the pericanalicular orbicularis. And here I can locate the white cut end. So the stent I'm using here is the silicone stent, that is the monocanalicular self-retaining silicone stent. So it is the silicone rod which is having a length of 40 mm. So the edge, I will cut it to make it bevel for the easy passage. So then I'm introducing into the punctum, then I'll retrieve it through the proximal cut end, and I'm here using a fine tooth forceps. So it's very easy to grasp it with a fine tooth forceps, and you have to be gentle while pulling it, otherwise you can sometimes dislodge or cut the cuffed edge if you are very rough. Then you have to introduce it into the distal cut end and advance it slowly. So this is not the end of the procedure. You have to approximate accurately the anterior as well as the posterior layers of the laceration. So here I'm using 6-0 vicryl suture, and I'm passing it through the pericanalicular tissue. Remember not to pass it through the canaliculus. You may cause canalicular fibrosis. You may damage the wall of the canaliculus. So this is the anterior lamella closure. Then posteriorly I'm using a buried knot, because the knot may rub onto the ocular surface. So I'll take the knot from inside out, and then I will approximate the tarsal side of the laceration. And then lastly I will approximate the margin. So then the lid margin at the gray line is approximated. You can use vicryl or 6-0 silk, whatever you're comfortable with. And you have to leave it long, and then you have to bury it in your skin sutures. So like this, the long end can be buried while you are closing the skin site. So how to find the torn end of canaliculus, like this was a proximal injury, so it was quite visible. But when there are distal injury, you must look deep and anteromedially to the caruncle. And you will find the silvery bands of the lacerated canthal ligament. You can use a drop of adrenaline for the blanching, or you can inject some colored fluid from the upper punctum as well, or you can inject air as well, making a pool of saline. You will see the air bubbles coming out through the pool of saline from the torn end. Use of pigtail probe is also advocated, but instrumentation of the normal uninjured canaliculus is not a very preferred method. This was a case when the canalicular injury was quite distal. So here, the initial steps are same. Now to locate, here I have to search at the medial canthus and deep to the caruncle. So I injected a diluted betadine solution, and then I was able to find out the distal cut end, and then the probe was going through it. Otherwise, sometimes you are inserting the probe through the orbicularis fibers and you will hit the bone. So this is how you have to confirm it, and then you have to introduce the stent. So here I am inserting the stent. So after the stent is inserted, again the approximation is of paramount importance. So whatever tissue you see at the near the medial canthal tendon, and you have to approximate it with the proximal cut end, and then 2-layered closure is done like this. So this is how a cuffed edge of the stent is seen. Post-operatively, you can keep it for 6 months. Sorry. Yeah, for 3 to 6 months, the stent can be kept, and then you can remove it. So it is a hollow tube as well. So patient is not very symptomatic because the tears can keep draining through it as well. So this is a patient where FDDT was done with monocanalicular stent in situ. The right eye was operated, and fluorescein dye is getting disappeared with after 4 or 5 blinks. You can see the stent here. So this is where you can see the stent in situ. When the stent is not available, we can use pediatric IV cannula, the intracath, as a stent material. Sometimes the silicone rod that Dr. Mukesh Sharma sir has shown us, that can also be used as a stent material. So here in this case, I used the silicone rod that we use for ptosis surgery. So the only problem is that to secure the silicone rod in the end, because the stent is having a curved edge, the collar which can snugly fit into the punctum. Now because this is not having that kind of facility, so then you have to incorporate it into your suture. So you put a long end like this and you bury it in your skin suture so that it should not rub onto the ocular surface or cornea. Bicanalicular stents are also commonly used, but that is not my preferred choice, so I don't have a video for that. So to conclude, primary reconstruction of all canalicular restoration is imperative. Stents markedly improve the cosmetic as well as functional results, and this simple technique of repair, as demonstrated in this video tutorial, should help non-ocular plastic surgeons to perform this surgery. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Maya. That was a wonderful presentation. So I just wanted to ask you that it's a fairly long stent. So even if it's going inside, it's going to go and curl up inside the lacrimal sac.
Yes.
So would you like to trim it a little
I trim
sometimes?
it is having a 40 mm length. So usually I use around 2/3 of it, so
Right.
that the only horizontal part which is needed for the approximation, that is what we want. We don't want it to go into the sac or
And you said this one that you're using has a lumen also.
as a lumen as well. It is a hollow tube. So
Right.
at the cuff it has a aperture. It's a hollow,
Yeah.
and it is not.
So that's important. Sometimes these Monoka type of stents or mini Monokas or these ones, some of the models don't have a lumen in them. So if you can find one with a lumen, that will be ideal because that is the right one to use.
Yes, I think again,
No financial interest. This one was Orostat from the Oro lab.
yes, very nice presentation. Only one point which I would like to stress here is that when you are passing pericanalicular sutures by Vicryl, so I think better to not tighten those sutures initially, just pass them and leave them, and then do the threading of your ruptured canaliculi or lacerated caniculi.
So pre-placement of suture.
Pre-placement
then,
of sutures and then thread it, and then
Yeah.
you just tighten those sutures.
Yes.
So you will be sure of your sutures, where you have passed them, where you have placed them.
So
I think
that's a
this
very
is the-
valid point made, because sometimes what you do is when you are passing the stand, it keeps on, the both ends, they are not approximated. So pre-placement of suture will also help in better approximation.
Within 24 hours is ideal, but I have gone up to 36 hours, and primary repair with good circulation in the lids available up to 36 hours is possible. In the services, our system of evacuation is such that we never get cases within 24 hours. So that has made me stretch it up to 36 hours, and it succeeds. Yeah. Then probably you will have to do a second repair. You can't do that because granulation has already started.
And exploration might still be worthwhile for whatever it's worth, I guess, no, sir? You sometimes in 10 or 20% of the cases, you just might take a chance about it. Yeah.